Welcome back to Louisiana. I am Samuel, and if you don't know a whole lot about Louisiana, kind of in Louisiana, Texas, there's this big thing called oil production. So this is where you have the oil pumps pulling oil out of the ground and then pushing it through flow lines into tanks and storing it. That's what we're going to be exploring today. So we're going to go out and we're going to see if we can find some oil pump jacks and some oil storage tanks, and just check out what those things kind of look like, how big they can get, and just go exploring in Louisiana. Let's get into the video. Yeehaw! So for a quick little history of what we're gonna see, pump jacks are pretty much big pumps that pull oil out of the cavity that they are underground, and it just sucks them up out of tubes using sucker rod, which is this metal rod. They get pretty long, maybe around 20 feet or so. It's just pulling oil straight up, pretty much just like a vacuum. And then we also have what is called tank batteries, which are big tanks. Some of these store salt water because that comes up with the oil out of the ground, and the salt water has to be separated from the oil and then pushed back into the ground. And some of these store oil itself. So we should see both of these today, and we're going to a few locations and we're just going to check out what they look like. So let's get on our bike ride, go find a road to ride down where we can maybe see some of these oil field equipment and go exploring in Louisiana.
So right now we're about to get into this ride out to these oil field equipment. It's about 95 degrees. I think it feels like about 98 right now, so it's not 100 degrees yet, which is good. I do have my, neck gaiter here, kind of looks like a little bit of a white ninja. Not sure what's going on there. But this is a bike we're riding, a Specialized stump jumper. And the roads we're going to be on are actually called oil field roads. And pretty much just dirt roads that go between this oil equipment, whether it's a pump jack or a tank battery or something. You just have these dirt roads that go here. They have very minimal traffic. Usually the only people on here are the people that go out here and either work on the oil wells or check them to make sure they're functioning properly. There's not a whole lot to watch out for. They're usually packed down pretty well, good dirt to ride on. So it's gonna be a pretty easy ride, pretty fun to ride. And we're just gonna ride around and check out all the oil field equipment that we can. I think there's gonna be about 3 or 4 locations we're gonna get to see just on this road. There's some locations that I guess depending on who owns it, they gate it off. So we can't go to those, but we can go to the ones that we can just see here. So it should be pretty interesting. And we're just gonna get an up close view at some oil field equipment out here in Louisiana, like I said. So let's get on this bike and get riding. Alrighty, well here's our first location, and it's a active pump jack. So this, like I was talking about, has really long amount of sucker rod going down to the little hole in the ground, and it's sucking up the oil out of the ground and forcing it through a flow line so it can be harvested out of the underground little cavity there that has oil in it. So it could be just a couple hundred feet, or it could be close to a mile how far down that rod is going. So it's pretty impressive here. But this is actually not a big pump jack. There's some whole lot bigger ones. So this is probably not going down that deep, probably about a couple hundred feet. But still really impressive. You can see the big counterweight there that the engine's driving, which drives the entire mechanism here. So this is our first location. I think it's about the size. It's called like a 320D. And they go up, to different sizes. But this is our first location. We're gonna keep on riding. I think next up is a tank battery. All right, so we've made it to our next location. Here we have one tank here, probably storing salt water, which is used in pumping oil. And then over here, we have some. They look pretty not well taken care of. So I don't know if they're active or abandoned, which does happen when these tanks aren't used, just abandon them out here. But here are some more tanks, 2 tank batteries, generator unit there for pumping in more whatever's storing here. Looks like it might have been oil in that one. Yeah, I think they store salt water in these tanks. And then over here, we've got 2 more. This one definitely looks abandoned. There's like a broken ladder at the top. I actually hear liquid flowing and a pump running on this one, so I'm gonna say it's still working. But these are some tank batteries which they use for storing stuff that they need, liquids and such for the process of pumping oil. Pretty unique thing they do out here. But if you look over here, yeah, I'm thinking these were used to store oil, because if you notice, there's this little berm filled in like pond area to contain any runoff if a leak happens or something. So I think that's what's going on here. You can actually go up this ladder and check out the top of these, see what it looks like. So up here you've got a valve going into there. a little hole at the top for air pressure to flow back in. They are connected, so that's interesting. Over here we've got another little cap going on. Looks like another join. Maybe if multiple tanks are joined together, because notice you have that join and that join, they look the same. So that's interesting. So yeah, there's not much going on at the top of these. Just a little valve to let some air back in whenever liquid flows out. So, oh, here's a nut. We'll put them right there. So that's some of the stuff going on here. Where's the unique place? See, this one is capped off. So probably because it's not in use, just put those little caps in there. But we're gonna continue on our ride and see what else we can find. So this is that first tank we saw coming riding into those over there. And I was just walking around it, and I was interested because I don't see any pumps leading to it or anything. So, oh, it's even cracked right there. So I'm wondering if there's not underground lines that flow into it and then flow out of it and be pumped up with, but it's really badly cracked there and at the top. So this actually might not be in use like I thought it was. I wonder if it got damaged and transported something. Just abandoned over here because it's not hooked up to anything. And with the damage, it might have been damaged and just left there, set aside from the main operation going on over there. So there's an interesting thing. What do you do if you have a tank that gets damaged? Do you just set it aside, or do you try to repair it, or what? So here's the interesting little sign. It says caution, underground flow lines. So a lot of times you'll see signs put up to mark stuff underground so people don't try to dig for whatever reason and then hit a important thing. So this is saying that there's underground flow lines. So if that tank was actually working, there might be a possibility of an underground line going into it. But other than that, the way they transport these oils, this oil from these pumps and stuff, is to have underground lines that flow along. Sometimes if the road washes out, you can kind of see the line, and they're just huge, big lines flowing underground, transporting a lot of oil in a hurry, which is pretty interesting. So one thing that happens on these oil-filled roads is sand washes up from the top of the hills down to the bottom. You can see just how sandy this is, and it makes for really hard bike riding. So I just cannot pedal in this, so I'm gonna push up to the top and cheat just a little bit. All right, and a couple hills later, we have made it here. Notice down this road, you can't see it, but there's a pump jack right on the right side of that. And then over here, you can see this one. There's an abandoned pump jack over there, kind of mangled up in pieces. So we're gonna go check it out first. And I think it's a little bit smaller than the working one. So we're gonna get an idea of what this one looks like. So here it is, manufactured by Lufkin, which does a lot of manufacturing. Funny enough, it says long end, so you know which side of that boom to put the weight on, I guess. There's your ladder to climb up there. So here's his rods that would connect to the crankshaft of the engine. They're dismantled and unhooked. And look at that, that is a pretty beefy bolt setup right there. Oh, look how this ladder is tied on. That's kind of deathly looking, this little piece of rope hanging it on. And then over here we have the actual kind of coupling that goes down to the tubing in the ground, which houses that sucker rod, which actually does the pulling of the oil up out of the kind of interesting spot. Here's the big I think they're called horse heads, which bolt onto the end of that boom and then make sure that the cables pulling on this always stay at the same direction, because obviously as that goes up, it's going to increase its angle, which pulls it back a little bit more, but then this rolls out to counteract that, if that makes any sense. Inside of here, it's just not much going on. It's actually flimsier than I thought. I mean, it's certainly not flimsy, but I thought they were be beefed up a little bit more. A quick Google search actually told me that they marked the sizes of these on the engine, so I want to see if I can climb the engine and see where it says what size it is. I'm thinking it's like a 320D from what I've seen. Look at this big rod. Big. Ooh, that has oil on it. Interesting. So there's some oil coming out of there. That must be grease for the engine. Look around here. Oh, wow. Look at the size of these nuts that they use to connect this whole thing together. And on this little engine here, they actually have an attachment point for a crane to drop it down. I bet that thing weighs a pretty huge amount. This is actually the little starter generator to get the main engine running. Kind of goes on the back here. Here, can't we? Yeah. 320D. So that's the size of this. A 320D made by Lufkin. You see some of the hydraulics there. So this is a very interesting thing. I don't know what this teeth are on here for. It's not a rack and pinion mechanism, I don't think. So we're gonna go back over here. Look at this flywheel. That thing is huge. And it weighs a good bit too. That's massive. It's a big chunk of metal there. But now we've seen this abandoned piece of machinery here. We can kind of see a little bit of what's going on. So we're gonna try to go back up to that working one that's a little bit bigger than this, I think. We're gonna look at it. We're not gonna get real close because I don't think it's supposed to get very close to them when they're operating, but we'll go check it out. On the side of this road here, coming from that pump jack there, I think, you can actually see where the road has washed out. This is one of those underground flow lines I think we saw the signs about earlier. So you can see just how huge it is, a couple inches in diameter, which is massive. This Lufkin pump jack, again, looks a little bit newer and bigger than the other one. I think it's bigger at least, I'm not 100% sure. But we're gonna kind of pedal around it and just see what's going on. So you can see that horse head. I'm gonna get this side view and you'll see how it keeps those lines straight. So it's always pulling up that rod at the exact same angle. It's always staying 90 degrees. So you see how that works. That horse head angles out to counteract the angle of the boom there. Oh, and you can see that even the little release valve gets pulled to that string connected to the thing there. So that must be, there's your little spot. Pumping the oil out of the ground. It must be flowing through this pipe. And then there's the end of that underground flow line that we saw, I'm assuming, and it gets buried and then runs up that road. So that's pretty cool. And oh, look, the ladder position changed. Now the ladder's on the front instead of on the side like it was on the other one. Nice adventure.
All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did learn a little bit about oil field equipment, please leave a comment down below, give it a like, and share it with your grandmother because you know she's interested in exploring. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.